Welcome back to the Bald Guys of Bankruptcy. Adam, it's been a while.
I'm eager to jump back in. So what are we talking about?
This is the K-Mart Bankruptcy.
It's a big bankruptcy.
K-Mart was, in its heyday, probably the largest retailer in the country.
You would assume they'd be doing well.
Right. I mean, and obviously they were. I mean, they had over 2,000 stores nationwide. They were a highly successful business.
So when did they file bankruptcy?
2002. At the time, they were $17 billion in debt. It was your typical bankruptcy, and things that we've discussed in the past. They filed all their first day motions. They got their critical vendors approved. They were able to pay their employees to keep the business going. So that was really step one. They spent a lot of their capital acquiring other companies, right? They purchased Sports Authority. They purchased Borders Books, right? And that seems to be where they were investing. They weren't investing in their own technology, right? So when a company like Walmart comes along, they're putting all their money in technology, in their supply chain, in their internal systems that just made them more efficient than K-Mart. I mean, now when we think of Walmart, Walmart's probably the biggest retailer in the country. It's Walmart, it's Target, right? It's Amazon is obviously the big fish. But back then they were chasing K-Mart, and they caught them. K-Mart failed to keep up with mainly supply chain technology, and that seems to be the big issue, was that Walmart had a system where they knew when things were flying off the shelves. They knew their inventory, and they were able to sort of back channel that to their distribution centers and then send inventory to the stores that needed it so they can actually keep up with demand. Whereas Kmart, it was taking them weeks to find out, hey, we're out of this certain product, and you would go to Kmart to buy it, and it was, not available.
When you're running a business that's a volume business where margins are tight, I could totally understand how logistics, distribution networks, and technology are critical. I guess you're not saying the acquisitions themselves are the problem, but it's more the focus.
It was part of the problem. They were focused on acquiring these other operations without improving their own. Maybe they did it backwards. Maybe if they had improved their own system, their own technology, their own way of doing business, and then purchased these companies and install that into those new companies, then they might have had three successful companies.
So they have $17 billion in debt.
Yes.
And they go through Chapter 11 and they restructure?
Yeah, the point was to restructure. And this wasn't a case where they had a prepackaged plan going into the bankruptcy. They filed bankruptcy and then started negotiating with their lenders. So, first things first, they closed a bunch of underperforming stores. They had to lay off thousands of employees. They renegotiated leases, and then they started looking at restructuring the debt. The big thing for them was they got a big investment from Eddie Lampert. He came in and he purchased a lot of the debt. He spent about $2 billion in purchasing this debt at a discount. And really, when they emerged from the bankruptcy, he had an ownership interest.
Why would he buy the debt?
Got it at a crazy discount. So he came out now he's basically the owner of Kmart. Right.
But they survive.
They survived. They fixed their books, right? It was a very successful bankruptcy because they filed in January 2002. They confirmed their plan the next year, right? We see now much smaller cases that take much longer than that. And they came out, they successfully restructured, they reduced their debt, they shed underperforming stores, and they had a brand new investment into the business. So, they came out, they were like square one, ready to go.
Why can't every company do that?
I think the fact that they were so large.
People were interested, I gather.
We've discussed a lot of smaller companies. They didn't have the brand name recognition. You think Kmart, there's Kmart everywhere. Every neighborhood had a Kmart. And the key thing was just getting the debt reduced, $2 billion in, got the property at a reduced rate, and was able to then operate it after that. It had value. About 18 months after that, they acquired Sears. This happened a few times to some airlines. They had a Chapter 11, and in order to come out successfully, they had to merge with another airline. There was a merger. And that took place during the bankruptcy, and that was what enabled them to come out of the bankruptcy. This is a case where they emerged successfully and then acquired Sears. Now, Kmart and Sears in our country at one point, they were probably the two biggest companies. That's Americana, right? Kmart, Sears, and they purchased it. Sears had a lot of the same issues, technological deficiencies, I'll say, and they didn't fix any of the issues that they had with Kmart. They didn't learn. They didn't learn what got them into bankruptcy in the first place. They acquired Sears. They made all the same mistakes In 2018, Sears filed for bankruptcy.
So Kmart goes into bankruptcy with $17 billion in debt. They come out, they buy another company, and then they file bankruptcy. Is this a lesson of you should get technology?
I think the lesson is, and I think it's especially pertinent today, is don't get complacent. Think of a company today that's using AI to its advantage versus a company that's like, oh, what's this, AI? Let me start to look into how I can use this to help my business. Well, if your competitor is miles ahead of you, years ahead of you, you're not going to catch up. And that's what happened here. They were never able to catch up.
I agree and I disagree. And the reason I disagree is they're buying other companies. They bought Borders and Sports Authority. These are like big companies. They were remaining aggressive. They were just making the wrong decisions, right?
Right, but I feel like their failure to keep up with the times is what led to the failure.
But they weren't improving the company.
I mean, K-Mart was huge. So they bought them at a time when they were huge. And then they just got caught. They got caught by Walmart, later by Target.
Do we see this a lot where companies like this purchase other companies?
No. I mean, this is sort of what makes K-Mart a unique case, where they emerged and then purchased another giant company. You don't normally see that. So this was certainly unique, and they had a real opportunity there to really create a behemoth. I feel like if they made the necessary changes, a K-Mart Sears combo would probably still be number one.
So when this goes through reorganization the first time, so in 2002 when Kmart goes through reorganization, the court or the trustee, they're approving certain transactions and certain decisions, right? Like things being sold off, changes being made. Are they considering at all the ability of the leaders of Kmart to go make appropriate next decisions?
That's always part of it. Management is always looked at, and very often it's a reason for the bankruptcy is poor management. Here, they got this investment from this Eddie Lampert who was going to take over operations, and sure, that's certainly looked at as, okay, when they emerge, they have someone who's going to be able to run this company. Coming in with $2 billion, they weren't going to do any better than that.
Courts are deciding to some extent like what business transactions can occur for these companies to move forward. So here, the court presumably believed it was making a reasonable, intelligent decision, believed Lampert was going to be able to control the company or move the company forward. For whatever reason, they were wrong. Does that function at all like legal precedent? Could a trustee or a judge look at a future case and say, we believed in the investor in Kmart, but we've learned that doesn't always work?
And a future case involves different parties. They're not going to go back and say, this happened in Kmart. You have to look at each case individually.
Are there Kmarts left?
That's a good question. I was trying to verify this. I can't say for sure. It sounds like there's maybe 3 left, 1 in mainland U.S. and 2 overseas.
Any final words?
Don't fall behind on technology. Keep up with it. If you're a business owner, keep up with it.
Bald guys of bankruptcy. Bald guys of bankruptcy.